Record 3 decisive games were played in the last round of Sinquefield Cup, so one cannot argue the tournament has finished with the bang. Let us take a look at the results of the last round. And perhaps the most important game was a game between Alireza, Firouzja and Praggnanandhaa, where Alireza only needed a draw to secure the tournament victory, and guess what? He had no difficulties whatsoever in doing so. And he needed this draw badly because his closest rival, Fabiano Caruana, has won his game against Anish Giri. Nodirbek Abdusattorov, in a very sharp game, defeated Nepomniachtchi, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave showed no mercy to world champion Liren. Wesley So and Gukesh had to settle for a draw after a perpetual check. So the final standings for the Sinquefield Cup looks as following. Alireza Firouzja scores 6 points, takes the first prize. The pride and glory, Fabiano Caruana 5.5, just half a point behind. And we have two-way tie on 5 points, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Let me remind you that Sinquefield Cup concludes this year's Grand Chess Tour, and we have the results, which are surprisingly very similar to the results of Sinquefield Cup itself. So Alireza Firouzja wins GCT with 43.58 Grand Chess Tour points. Second is Fabiano Caruana by quite a serious margin, almost 7 points between them. And Maxime Vachier-Lagrave comes third, and he needed it because after dropping his rating, he might not have been invited to the GCT, but now with this win in the last round, with this nice performance in Sinquefield Cup, he will be in GCT 2025 again. And now let's take a look at a few key moments from today's round. Well, Alireza had no trouble equalizing, making a draw. Fabiano Caruana, however, had some difficulties overtaking Anish Giri. Well, we'll start here when he already has an advantage, and moreover, in the previous stage, he already a couple of times left behind the strongest moves. Knight e4 is a brilliant move that Fabi found here. The justification for this would be if black takes, then exchange on d6, rook to d1, white wins the piece back with a decisive advantage. So after knight e4, Giri exchanges on d1, rook to d1, rook to d8, which is a clever move. Knight goes to d6, and this is where Giri makes a fatal mistake. Because bishop d6, rook takes d6, king f7 would still allow him to continue defending. But knight f6, double question mark, bishop takes, knight takes b7, well, leads to a forcing sequence of moves, and in the final position, white will be winning, we'll see that. So black has no business playing rook b8, because after rook d7, white's position is dominant. So black has to trade, that's exactly what happened. Bishop to e7, b4, timely pawn break. After pawn takes, c6, black king needs to stop the c-pawn. So king to f7, king to c2, king to e8, c6, and this little fence that knight and the pawn build do not allow the black king to capture the c-pawn. So black pretty much has to wait. King goes here, king goes to c4, h5, king d3, bishop f8, king d4, and king d4 is the key move, because among other things, white is threatening to go king e5, as in the case of bishop e7, king to e5, and if you run with the pawn b3, white captures on e6, b2, c7, you do promote into a queen, and then white does so with a checkmate. So instead, after king d4, Giri decided to go check on g7, king went to c5, check again, king to b6, b3, c7, king d7, and last funny tactic, white goes knight c5. Now if you capture on c5 with the check, white does not recapture but go king b7, and b2 is met with c8, queen with the check. So after knight c5, Giri had to go king c8, knight takes b3, white's position is absolutely winning, and Fabi had no problem whatsoever to convert it into a full point. Next game, MVL winning against Liren. So that's the position they've gotten after the very complex opening. And here, Although in VL's position is better, Ding should have captured on h4 and continue fighting. Well, the line that would happen would be pretty forced. White has to go queen f6, and after queen trade, knight g6, rook takes d6. Black's position is worse, but not hopeless. Black can go king g7, black can go h4. He does have some counterplay. Instead, Ding chose to keep more pieces on the board. He went bishop g4, but this happens to be a mistake. And there is no mystery. White simply goes queen f2, guards h4, and he has a clear-cut plan of advancing the queenside pawns and exchanging the g4 bishop. In case you exchange, queen gets to f5, the h5 pawn is weak, so that's not an option for black. Black went rook d7, and then another clever move, a4, a5, so now bishop a4 is a threat. Ding went for, well, pretty much all-in attempt to find counterplay, and here MVL's position is winning in many ways. The way he chose was sufficient, and after a few more moves, well, Ding Liren couldn't really continue and resigned after rook to g5. And the last fragment we'll look at from the 9th round will be a victory of Nodirbek Abdusattorov against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and Jan at the end of the tournament really fell apart. So this is the position they had after White's 20th move. Black's the move, and the correct way of continuing would be queen to g5. While attacking the e3 pawn for now, so there is no f2, f3 for White, and if White would go bishop d4, only then Black goes queen h4. In this case, computer actually leans towards Black's advantage. Instead, Jan relatively quickly played queen h4, very tempting move, attacking h3, but it allows bishop to e1. So that'd be the difference. With the bishop on d4, there won't be bishop e1 move. Bishop e1 is very clever. However, Black still would have an equal game after rook c8, the move he did not play, because it's so easy to fall for queen takes h3. Black is threatening a checkmate in 1, but after f3 and especially bishop h6, rook f2, it turned out that, well, Nepo's attack just does not work. So queen to g3 check, a terrible mistake, and d4 would still leave him with some chances to fight, but queen g3, rook g2, turns out, well, everything is hanging. Queen takes e5, bishop g3, once again a clever move, so many clever intermediate moves found by Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Queen f6, fe4, de4, and White is, well, already a piece up. Rook f2 attacking the queen. Now you don't have queen e7 because rook c7. Well, Black's position falling apart, and no wonder Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned here. And this round with 3 decisive games concludes the Sinquefield Cup, concludes the Grand Chess Tour 2024. So please guys, like and subscribe, and please tell me in the comments what you think was the game of the tournament for Sinquefield Cup 2024.